Bear with me here if things are put together at a little bit at the last minute. I only got in late last night, and for that matter, after finally getting word that I was going to be able to come down here on Friday, I spent most of the day Saturday pinned down at my house as there was fighting in the streets about 500 yards from my house. The actual question that we had here is, what is the role of the different U.S. government organizations here? For aid, that may seem a bit strange. You know, we're sort of charged with the overall administration of this. So, as from the perspective of the CARPE USAID team, we do have somewhat of a unique perspective in that we have an overview of the entire program, which other institutions may not. Beyond that, obviously we're involved with monitoring and evaluation of the program, and we're also involved in program design. So that's really what I'd like to focus mainly on here is USAID's role in program design. As you know, we've recently undergone a new design phase here for fiscal year 07 to 011. And so what is it that we're really trying to accomplish here from USAID's perspective? And that is, we're trying to create a coherent regional program. We're working in 9 different countries, 12 different landscapes. In the landscapes in an area the size of Texas, we're working with multiple partners of different types of partners, conservation organizations, development organizations, and whatnot. So what we're looking to achieve is not have simply institutions working independently in geographically dispersed areas, but have a coherent regional program with synergies and coherence of the different actors in the program. So I'd like to just emphasize a few of the new focuses of the program for this upcoming phase. Not mentioning perhaps everything, but at least highlighting a few that are particularly important for this new phase. I'll be repeating some of the things that people have said, but one thing that has been important for us in trying to come up with a very coherent overall program is our work with the U.S. Forest Service. And that is we've come up with these management, landscape land use management planning guides, and that is one to give a certain minimal coherence to landscape land use planning in the 12 different landscapes. And indeed, in this latest RFA that was put out a little bit earlier this year, and the grants have just been awarded, incorporated within that RFA was a template for coming up with a strategy document of how the different landscape leaders intend to come up with a land use management plan. And indeed, so issues of what are the needed expertise in the landscape, what is the needed data, what is the stakeholder engagement strategy that's needed. And we were very pleased in the receipt of the applications that we have. In fact, now we have strategic strategy documents for coming up with a land use management plan for all of the 12 different landscapes that have a certain minimum number of commonality between them. So again, we're coming up with a certain coherence and consistency between the different 12 landscapes. The other thing that we've been emphasizing very much for this new phase is a people-centered approach to conservation. Within this landscape land use management planning process, we've mentioned on several occasions that there are 3 principal different types of macro zones within the landscapes. We have protected areas, which are the reserves in the national parks. We have the forest concessions, and then we have the community-based natural resource management areas. We've noted in the first part of this second phase, there has been somewhat of a focus more on the protected areas. And we're very much looking towards ensuring that we have more movement into the community-based areas and these forest concessions and other extractive resource zones, which can include mining, plantation agriculture as well. where we have economic activities going on, people living in these areas using the natural resource base. So, for example, we've put a minimum requirement of at least 50% of resources and activities going on outside of the protected areas. So, why is this? Really, because there's a recognition that a lot of the environmental degradation in the area comes from livelihood strategies of individuals mired deeply in poverty, and so in efforts to meet their basic livelihood needs, they engage in slash and burn agriculture, they engage in hunting, overfishing, artisanal extraction of logging. So we've put much more emphasis on alternative livelihoods, for example. So looking at improved agriculture, sustainable fishing, small animal husbandry, etc., incorporating local communities within ecotourism initiatives, etc.